Hello everybody and welcome. I'm NegPrimer and today we are playing Alan Wake. We are continuing our build up to Halloween. Rather than playing the game proper, because I'm sure there's a ton of videos out there just showing the game as normal already, I'm actually going to jump into some of the DLC. I should forewarn you all a bit, this is going to show spoilers, so if you have not already played Alan Wake, I would highly recommend you go pick it up now, and then go play it, and then watch this. But the episodes here are DLC. The Signal and the Rider was each a different DLC chapter. The game itself was made out of 6 chapters, I believe, 6 of these episodes, and then they added on 2 more, and so each one is about an hour and a half long to 2 hours, if memory serves. And so there's quite a substantial amount to this game.
Previously on Alan Wake,
and it will give us a little reminder of how the first game ended here.
A horror story that came true.
I'll bring her back.
Some part of me had been aware enough to write my escape into the story.
Alan?
I saved Alice, then wrote a better ending for the story. But not without a price. I was trapped somewhere in the dark place, a strange zone somewhere beyond our world.
It's not a lake. It's an ocean.
After the completion of any difficult undertaking, there are mixed emotions. Accomplishment and relief. Sadness, depression. For a while, everything was about the work. Like an illness, it consumed you, changed you. You locked yourself away from the world to do it, and now you need to recover. Learn to live without it. Find a way to crack open the door and let the light back in.
So there is quite a bit of talking in this. I'm not going to interrupt myself for it all.
It was familiar, but wrong somehow.
But the premise here, the premise here is that we are a writer who came to this city in the Pacific Northwest.
I can't believe it.
I had a disturbing feeling of deja vu. I had no idea why I was here or where I had been before this moment.
And yeah, we started off the first game, the main game, by coming into this diner to try to get keys to our cabin. And now we're kind of repeating that scene with the same people in there. And it's really interesting just because it's obviously something wrong here. Nope, I'm not going to. Because you go through all this, you go through a little bit to get the jukebox working, and it doesn't even play music. So, well, we got to come back here. I like this. You push it open a little bit, and then you have to, boom, like break it off the frame. Alright, so I played a little bit of this just to make sure it would work.
Alan, listen to me. Go no deeper.
What?
Focus.
And it doesn't really hold your hand at all. It assumes you remember pretty much everything from the game.
What do you mean?
I cannot hear you. Please, you're the one making all this happen. Concentrate.
Not just story-wise, but also how to beat it. How to play.
Can't take the pressure. It's too much. Suddenly, Wake found himself face to face with himself.
But a large part of the premise here is that we are a writer. We're kind of like a Stephen King type figure who writes all these paranormal books, and
You will need weapons.
we are being forced to. We had been forced to rewrite a story.
What it represents. You will need it. This is not a gun. It is a tool in a logical process of elimination. Be careful. I will try to find a better point of contact.
I didn't understand Zane's message, and knowing where I was didn't fix anything. Something had gone wrong after I had finished Departure.
So, Departure's the book that we wrote during the main game. that we were finding pages for all over the place.
Day had become night. The diner had become deserted. Then the door was smashed off its hinges and Wake had to fight for his
So
life.
we'll show here in a second about how this game does not handhold at all. Because, okay, we got a big guy right there. We also got this guy, and another one. And it also doesn't teach you the controls again, you just have to kind of remember. Where did that guy go? Did he go into the back? Jeez, okay. There he is. Hold on, let me reload. So the game really uses light to be the weapon of the game. And that's the big thing, is I do have this gun, but before I can use the gun, I have to burn away the darkness from the enemies. And most of the first game is I need to stop calling it the first game. The main game is in these little wood sections, and I can sit here and fight these enemies, or I can just try to run to the next section. Ugh. Oh, but they're a lot closer to me than I'd like. Boom. Okay. And as soon as you get to light, they'll disappear. And that's, here's a manuscript page. That's what the first game entirely is run through the forest trying to find these manuscript pages.
But the words were jumbled dreamlike fragments. Reloading frantically.
And then this is introducing a new mechanic. I don't believe this existed in the main game, is these floating words. I believe that is entirely a creation of this DLC.
The system was working. I hadn't expected that. Hello?
I'm trying to reach you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
And we have
Listen, I can help you.
this person talking is supposed to be another author.
Come to me. I can't maintain the connection. Use the words. Follow the signal.
Who went through the same thing that I am currently going through.
Sense for the GPS system to work.
But it didn't. He wasn't able to get out of it. He ended up writing himself out of existence. Is the kind of summation of his storyline. Flare gun. And like I said, light is a big part of the weapon. A big part of the game here. And so a flare gun is an extremely important thing to have, as are these lithium batteries. And I picked up there a better flashlight.
Something had shifted again. The dark place was playing tricks on me. It wouldn't stay still.
And then yeah, we at that beginning we started in Bright's Diner and then ran to this, and everything shifted. So we're in a completely different world right now.
Turned against Wake. Cars flew toward him. They cracked bone and crushed muscle. It oozed hate. It wanted to bury him.
So now we have to deal with these cars are gonna turn into enemies. So you can see we can damage them with the light. Oof. And we can spend forever trying to kill all of these, like that. Ugh. Or, oh, that one wasn't shaken for long. Or we can try to make a break for it, which is exactly what we're gonna do. I have no desire to deal with with all of that. Okay, and then we picked up a shotgun. So as I mentioned, it really does kind of just expect you to remember exactly how to play. Because here we're going to be stuck in another room with a crap ton of these guys. And we're in a very little room, very little space to maneuver. So I'm going to just pop a flare. That's funny that they're still, those cars outside are still flinging around. Once we get some space, they'll stop.
Everything I saw was familiar, and yet it wasn't.
Hello.
I cannot keep up. You're going.
But yeah, light is good, so anywhere that there's light is a good place to take a breath.
Face yourself. Follow.
The game does end up playing with that a little bit. It'll have things like where you think you're gonna be safe and then the light goes out.
But the ships were interfering with it. I had to keep trying. I wouldn't survive alone. The changes were becoming more violent. The street wasn't so much ripped apart as it was missing. Like some great hand had reached down and scooped it up. Everything felt erratic,
But this
unstable.
is kind of this would basically be the equivalent of jumping in at the end of the game. The game does have a satisfactory ending, but this is kind of a continuation on the story. And so it could be argued that the game doesn't have a true ending. But I do think it's not as problematic with this as it could be with other games where they've basically cut out chapters to serve as DLC. I don't feel like that's what they did with this game. That is, I believe, is the main character of our book series. I said we play as a writer, kind of like a Stephen King type figure. And the game is all about writing yourself into a story and then trying to break out of it. Oh. And so most of the main game does take place in quote-unquote the real world. This is something I hate about this game. These stupid birds. Especially since when they're paired up with regular guys. Because then you have to worry about... Damn, look at that. Can pop a flare. But then you end up looking at the sky. Oh, come on! There was another group of birds behind me. I was wondering where that other group was. But you can see it's not holding my hands in any capacity. It is really just pushing me off the deep end. Right away. And so we're gonna do a couple things here. Birds? I hate you so much. The birds aren't bad when it's just the birds, but when paired with a group like this... Boom. Alright. Okay. Is that everything? Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. I do want to talk for a minute about DLC as in general. It's because I feel like this is a big problem, is that a lot of DLC, they kind of expect you to have just finished the other game when you start playing it, or play it as part of the other game. But that's not the way these things end up working. Usually DLC doesn't come out for months afterwards a game, so at that point, someone has already beaten the game, and they just want to play the DLC, or something like that. Dark Souls is really bad about this. Dark Souls is one of the worst offenders about expecting you to have played it, or expecting you to play it during the normal course of playing it. Because Dark Souls, it's actually in the middle of the game. You actually, if you've beaten the game, you can't play any of the Dark Souls DLCs or anything like that. You have to go back and play through the rest of the game up to that point again. And it sucks because, like I said, the assumption should be that you haven't played the game in quite a while. But you never get that.
Where are you? Look, I'm trying to follow your goddamn signal.
The dark place is playing tricks on you. You're still going deeper. I'm trying to guide you, but it's hard.
What is this?
I can help you if you just stop sinking.
What? This is bullshit.
It's happening again. Brace yourself.
Boop.
I was running after Zane, and he was telling me I was going too deep. It was ridiculous, but I was more scared than amused. I felt like I was being hindered by an unseen force in ways I couldn't fight. All I could do was keep going.
But yeah, in this game, obviously, it's been a while since I've played this. It came out, sometime between 6 months and a year after the main game came out, I believe. And it's really just throwing us entirely in there. Not letting us take it easy at all. Damn. Flashbang. Super effective, obviously. And I took a beating there. That all being said, Alan Wake is absolutely a great game. This DLC is actually really great when taken as a whole.
I don't see Barry.
Look, wait, maybe that's him. That's the way to the chopper.
I remembered this. This happened before we found Barry.
Yeah. I would absolutely recommend picking up the game, but keep in mind with the DLC, you do want to play it while you still remember the mechanics and how to fight and everything like that. It is not the easiest thing to just pick this up again. And I think games in general, you need to, if you're going to be doing DLC or anything like that, you do kind of need to retrain the player in anything that you've left out.
The playground. Wake's pathetic memories of the Wonder Years and the contrary little boy pretending he didn't miss his father he never knew. He surged up and beat Wake down. Merry-go-rounds and slides, eager to cane in his head.
So that's me. There's actually like a live action component to this. To this game. if as you play through the main game, they actually made episodes of like a Twilight Zone knockoff to include in it. And we're actually going to use this tree as kind of cover. It'll block things from flying into us. So thus, they're here. So I didn't play this. I played this on Xbox rather than on PC. I do have it for PC, which is what we're playing it on, although with a controller. Oh, I didn't even notice that. There's an alarm clock there. Which are just collectibles, nothing else. But it is clearly meant for a controller. It was made originally for Xbox. It is something... It is kind of an interesting thing.
I had to find the key to get the door open.
Came out in 2010 or 2011, if I remember correctly. I want to get somewhere that I can take cover. Because it's a lot easier to kind of cheese a lot of these things. Obviously. Ugh. Although, no, nothing is for certain. There's always going to be little cracks of things that get through. You can see here, I'm not even shooting my gun. It's entirely light. I'm entirely using light as the weapon.
I'm gonna give Pastor Howard a piece of my mind about this lock. I told him to get it fixed.
And these are like memories of stuff that happened in the main game.
Run for it.
Back when we were in the real worlds. And so now we're kind of in a dream worlds type thing. We're in the upside down or whatever.
The world was changing, twisting out of control. It was too big on the inside. He couldn't see the ceiling. Something was moving in there. He was lost. He couldn't find the exit.
Asshole.
Ooh, underground, huh?
The shifts were getting more severe. I wasn't sure if the place got bigger
Blast.
or I got smaller. The signal was going haywire. I would have to find my way out of here on my own.
These all say blast. I feel like that's yeah, I think I hit a blast over there, and that's what just happened. Oh! The amount to which these guys... The amount to which they're coming up behind me, they're spawning in behind me, is maybe a bit frustrating. You can see I'm out of breath already. What hit me? Did he throw at me? I'm not sure how much of that would actually hurt me. If these blasts would. I heard another guy in there. I gotta be careful with this, though. I don't want to end up getting myself killed in this underground area. Climb. Spawn in a ladder. Let's get out of here. There's another clock over there. Oh well. But yeah, okay. I think we'll just about
Someone
wrap
left
it
me a
up there.
page.
I think
He
you
was
guys have
trying
a
to
pretty
help
good
me.
grasp of what this game is about. The main game, there's a lot more of these manuscript pages. That's a significant portion of the game. It kind of alludes to what's about to happen. It talks about stuff that's happened in the past, and it's kind of an interesting mechanic kind of thing. But all right, I want to thank you all for watching. If you tune back in tomorrow, we should have another episode for you then. And until then, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Check out my Twitch, which is also NegPrimer. And I will see you then.